Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jodie Hill and I am back today talking to you about the three main concerns that people are having returning to work and just generally as a result of the restrictions lifting on Freedom Day. So the 19th of July, big day for everybody because we know that the restrictions are all lifting. Everything from face masks to social distancing to working from home. All of that's going to go. But that leaves a lot of people feeling a bit anxious, a bit kind of what's happening. And we've had lots of questions come in. In fact, I was on BBC Radio Leeds only today when I'm recording this video, and lots of questions really about understanding, well, what are my rights? Like, what if I still want to wear a mask? What if I don't feel comfortable social distancing? What if I still want to work from home? So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about the three main concerns that people are raising at the moment that are likely to continue to be issues and concerns post the restrictions lifting on the 19th. So the first one of those is masks. Lots of people still want to wear masks and that's absolutely up to them. All that's happening after the 19th is that the government will no longer mandate people to wear them in public places, say for a few places like in hospitals, staff will have to wear them there, for example. But apart from that, it's up to employers whether to implement that as a policy within their workplace. So if your employer asks you to wear a mask and it's part of their company policy, refusing to do that could be a breach of their own internal procedures. So be really, really careful just outwardly refusing to engage in something like wearing a mask if it's required as part of your role. So it might be mandated as one of the exemptions by the government. So there will be certain organisations like care homes and hospitals that will require masks to be worn still. But most organisations won't require that anymore. So it's really about understanding, well, okay, the government aren't requiring that, but what do we then need to put in place as a company? And have we clearly communicated that to our staff? And if you're an individual and you want to wear a mask, but your employer says that you don't have to, just speak to them, have a conversation, explain your anxieties, because ultimately everybody is in a really difficult position at the moment and employers do want to genuinely help individuals. Issue number two. The second main issue has been about social distancing. Not everybody's a hugger. Not everybody's going to go into meetings, shake hands and want to be sat right next to someone if they've not been sat next to people for a long time. So it's really important that first of all, we all respect that people are going to be on a different journey. They're going to be feeling anxious about things. Some people will be absolutely fine. But it's about understanding that and respecting that in the workplace generally, regardless of if you're an employer or an employee. But legally, there will be no social distancing required. So what we need to do as employers is we need to clearly communicate that to the staff, understand from our teams, do people feel comfortable with that? Are there people who are actually feeling really, really quite anxious already at the prospect of sitting in a really cramped office with lots of people? So explore how people are feeling. The key here is communication. If you want to social distance still and your employer aren't requiring it as part of your rules and procedures in the workplace, then you need to have a think about how you can communicate that to your employer. Now, one great tip that I've seen some businesses is where they wear different coloured bands or badges or lanyards depending on how comfortable they feel with social distancing. So some will have, say, red, which is I don't want you to hug me, I don't want you to shake my hand, I don't want you to sit right next to me. You might have amber, which is I'm okay with you sitting next to me and a handshake but no hugs, and there might be green, which is I'm okay with everything. So like a colour coded system like that, although it does remind me a little bit of the travel restrictions, which don't get me started on those, but I do think that something as visual as that can really help ease some of the difficult conversations that can often end up happening because of people feeling anxious and quite vulnerable around social distancing. So whilst the rules will have relaxed, it doesn't mean that the anxieties will have gone. So we do need to consider how people will feel, both as employers, employees and peer-to-peer. So have that conversation early on, start having those conversations now, continue to have them as time goes on, because things will change. You know, we might end up having other situations that make people feel more anxious because there might be a spike somewhere in a region, something like that. So keep that communication going. The third one is actually really, really popular, and I think ultimately a massive benefit to the whole of the pandemic, if we can call it a benefit, is the way that employers have had to embrace home working and flexible working and hybrid working, and generally just innovating and working in really different ways so that they are able to continue to function, because, you know, we couldn't go to the office like we could before. But what that's shown is that we can work from home. Some people really like it, some people don't. And the key now, moving back, is that, you know, the government are saying, well, you don't have to work from home anymore. So lots of organisations will go, yes, great, everybody come back to the office. And that's their prerogative. If they do that and you still want to work from home, you can make a flexible working request if you've been employed for more than 26 weeks. You need to check your company policy around making that if there is one. If there isn't, just write to your employer, explain to them what the flexible working request is. Is it that you want different hours, different location, you want hybrid, you want whatever it might be and why? Set that out in writing so it's really clear to your employer exactly what it is that you want, how long you want it for, if it's temporary or if it's permanent. Explain that as well. And your employer then have to communicate a response to you in writing. Now, they might invite you to a meeting, which is obviously great because you get an opportunity to have a conversation about the whole working arrangement and how that might work. But I do think it'll be really difficult for many employers to actually go back to, okay, you have to come back into the office 9 till 5 because it just doesn't work working from home. I think that's really hard to justify. So I think there's going to be a real difficulty where an employer perhaps would have said for business reasons, you can't work from home or you can't work 4 days a week when they have been doing because of COVID. So we know that some organisations will find it more difficult, but, you know, some people don't want to go back to the office full time. Some people do. And it's about, you know, as an employer, really thinking about, well, how do I know what my staff want? How do I know who works best where? And everybody's different. And a lot of people want genuine flexibility, and that can be quite hard for employers to manage. But if you put the right communication streams in place, if you really understand what your team need, how they work best, you can really start to build a culture where flexibility is part of the core. And this can really help people to perform at their best. So if you are an employer and you're thinking, I don't really want everybody to come back. Actually, some people have worked really well from home. Start that consultation process now. You don't have to bring everybody back on the 19th. You can do it gradually, or you don't have to do it at all. But it's about the fact that the government have changed their perspective, and it's now down to businesses to decide what's best for them. I hope that these 3 tips have been really helpful. I'm going to do a series of videos over the next few weeks, and I'd love it if you guys could subscribe and share to my channel. I'm also going to do some lives on my Instagram, so I'd love to see you guys over there. It's at I am Jodie Hill, and I'd love to also have your questions and comments. I'm going to do a series of Ask the Employment Lawyer. So if you guys have got specific questions or topics that you want me to cover, just drop me a comment below, and I'd love to catch up with you guys offline. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share. See you guys soon.